What is the difference between all of that, and how are you prioritizing it for Carbon?
Sure. I still look at it from the whole portfolio as well. There is a time and a place for paid endorsement. There's a time and a place for that organic reach on the community buzz, which is, icing on the cake. If you're doing things right, you get the people to start talking about you. I think it starts from, a place of authenticity. Like you said, it's not, cramming an idea or a product down, into the masses there. It's really starting to showcase the expertise, what you've done with the product, why it's important, how your customer service comes to life, and really give that warm and fuzzy to the community to let them, start to advocate on your behalf. Where we use paid placement, paid endorsement is really just to start telling that message a little bit more aggressively. But ultimately it comes back to the relationship that you build with that customer, from the organic side.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, they become your zealots, your brand zealots, right? I mean, they're constantly engaged and really looking at how the brand movement is taking place. It's interesting. We have a lot of different brands that we work with that have, high level celebrity endorsements through Hollywood, and a lot of them, and then very subdued endorsements through, general day-to-day Joes in the marketplace. And we've seen them work in many, many different ways, but is what's interesting about the difference between the two is the sustainability. And when we talk about PR, we use the example quite often is PR can create unicorns of attention, right? Like you get a big PR hit and maybe it lasts for 2 weeks and then you're on to the next. And that's not always achievable, which is why an integrated content and PR and communications approach is so important. And I look at celebrity endorsements the same way. They're not going to continually talk about the brand, but they are going to provide you that great unicorn. How are you using the two to really amplify the voice of the brand? Or do you have a great example of what you've done to achieve a good balance between the two?
Yeah, great question. I think there's just kind of twofold here, specifically with celebrity and also with kind of major publication. If you kind of think about them as equal behemoths of reach, right there, you kind of take the momentum that flash in the pan can provide, and then back it up with your mission statement, your brand statement, your product value. It's like you said, it has to be integrated and very intentional. You can't sustain on large, one-time reach, flashes in the pan kind of marketing campaigns. We recently had the privilege of tuning Scott Disick's car, who's on the, one of the Kardashian influencers there. And, from that, what we wanted to do was provide him, our expertise and our service and really let him do what he does really well, which is talk about the product and talk about his projects on his behalf. Right. And what we did is we just showed up. We did our best. We provided, excellent service, excellent product, and everything else just kind of fell into place from there. And then when you take that as more of an authoritative voice and say, hey, you know what, you too can have the same, experience from us, whether you're just a first-time tuner or you've been doing this for decades. So really kind of writing on that. And then, we've also been privileged to be in a couple of pretty large scale publications like Car and Driver, Motor Trend Magazine, and a few others. And, from that earned standpoint, we worked really hard to build, a best in class modification to our car and let the road test and the critics really, push it to the limits. And, not all feedback is positive and negative, but it's all valuable feedback, and how we are, use that to serve our customers down the road is paramount.
And how you amplify it. I
Definitely.
one thing that gets lost quite often is, that one article or, that feedback from Car and Driver, the editorial board, whatever it might have been, can turn into a lot of content downstream, and amplifying that not just, with a single unicorn hit, but downstream for a couple months, or, plugging it back in when it makes sense, when something else may have come up with the product that was
Hmm.
looked at during that, is what really can make a big big impact. We all have so much content at our fingertips, and we just don't realize it. And I think that's where, if there's another takeaway from this show today, is do an analysis of all your internal content that you have, whether it be blogs that just showed up as a blog and it wasn't broken down into 10 different pieces of social content. Really analyze what you have in-house so that you can build this ongoing flow of advocacy through a lot of what you already have.